Welcome to the Combative Nerds Podcast. Join us. Hey guys, we don't have time for intros or traffic signals. This is a rapid fire episode. Let's get to it. Oh, and IG. My bad. Sorry about your cat. Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Raiderlance and
IceyEyedGnome.
This is going to be part one of our rapid fire, where we are going to talk about Werewolf by Night from Marvel Cinematic Universe. It was a surprise show. I didn't see this one coming, or, I don't follow the news outlets, so I'm sure there's some promotion behind it. It is a new type of special feature or special episode that they did, so I'm assuming they're experimenting, kind of like we are with Rapid Fire. So, tell us about the show, IG.
All right, so Werewolf by Night was a very popular comic. Actually, we were introduced to a character that appeared in Werewolf by Night originally earlier, which is Moon Knight.
Oh,
so Moon Knight made his first appearance in Werewolf by Night, and I don't remember the specific issue number. I think it was like 23 or 32 or something like that. Anyways, that was where he made his first appearance. So it kind of gives you a little bit of backstory, but it's also very important to the Marvel Cinematic Universe moving forward, especially when they're talking about releasing characters like Blade. We've already brought Morbius into the mix. They've mentioned Vampire's existence a couple of times now. They mentioned it in Loki,
right,
and they mention it in other places as well. So this show kind of sets up the monster side of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I thought that was like really cool. We get introduced to Elsa Bloodstone, and they changed the backstory of her father and that kind of stuff a little bit in the show by comparison to the comics, which her father's backstory has kind of changed. So originally in the comics, it was a guy who just lived for forever. He was like a caveman who didn't die.
Oh, wow.
And they showed the stone has powers and that kind of stuff. In the comics, it was like the stone that kept him alive, kept him youthful. And they mentioned that in the show as well.
Sure.
The special. So it's kind of weird because they shot it in black and white and they had this whole aesthetic look and feel to it, which is really neat. It was very unique.
Yeah. I liked it a lot.
Yeah. I love the fact that they did the chroma key or whatever and like highlighted the reds, which is something they toyed around with in like WandaVision and stuff as well.
I don't know what you're talking about at all.
Oh, yeah. You didn't watch WandaVision?
No, I watched WandaVision. What do you mean the chroma keys and the highlighting reds?
So everything was black and white except for the Bloodstone, which was red. And then towards the end, they put everything in like chroma color.
Yes. Okay. You're correct. Quick question. The only reason I know about Elsa Bloodstone at all is because of Marvel Strike Force and her being a character. In that game, she has red hair.
Yeah.
Was that more like the character from the comics and they adjusted her to a brunette this time?
She's actually, I think her very first appearance, she had black hair. But more recently, she's been spotted with, like red hair. Her 2000 and up issues and that kind of stuff. She always has red hair. But so yeah, it's like more of a traditional and old school vibe too. But they did that.
Got it.
They changed the hair color on a lot of the characters, and so she may be a redhead later. This whole setup, though, this whole show, kind of throws you off on the timeline, right? Because it's like you don't know where exactly it takes place.
Sure,
but that we did get like some indication because when they're in like the mausoleum or whatever, the graveyard, we see like a headstone that reads like, I think the latest date on there was someone died in 1986. So clearly this has taken place past 1986, even though it has that like early 1900s feel to it.
Yeah. I think they did that intentional, or is supposed to be kind of like a blast to the past. One of the scenes that made me stop and really be like, I had this feeling before is when they, and I don't know the name of it, the record player with the horn on it. I'm sure there's a special name for that.
Phonograph or whatever.
Phonograph, thank you. And the music that they played, I got the whole Rapture BioShock feel for them playing that music. Have you ever played that game?
Oh, I love BioShock. BioShock's like one of my favorite games.
So there is something inherently creepy about music coming from a phonograph. And I'm not sure if it's because it's so old. We all know that the people who listened to it or sang on it have passed away. And so there's this eerie feeling of it being a ghost, or if it's just creepy music. I don't know, but I got that vibe when they had that in the show, and I thought it was perfect for a monster show.
Yeah, I think it has a little bit to do with like, the people being dead, clearly the artists are dead.
Right.
Although you don't get those same vibes when you hear like Michael Jackson music. I think it's like
Sure.
the popping and
Sure.
crackling and,
Yep.
like just that old record feel, the imperfections on the vinyl against the needle. So,
Well, before we go any further, thumbs up, thumbs down on this show.
I loved it. I thought it was awesome.
Same here. It was a breath of fresh air of a show. Okay, so all the characters in there. This is the first time I was introduced to this whole, I don't want to call it universe, but this whole storyline. So anybody we should know, any big players, any new characters, run me through it, please.
Okay, so Man-Thing, or Ted from the show, is like a huge character, and he's actually gets his power. He's a scientist. His name was Ted, and he gets his powers in the comics through like he was testing some new drug, and then people were after him, and then he just like injects himself with it, and like it gives him cosmic powers, like interdimensional powers. Or he absorbs his powers through interdimensionally. After he has like a car accident, I think he ends up in a swamp. So he's actually covered in like mushrooms and whatever. He's like made one with the earth, right? But his
That
power
sounds like Swamp Thing.
Yeah, it really is. It's like it's Marvel's take on Swamp Thing.
Got it.
So it's very similar in character, except this guy has cosmic powers and like he feeds off fear. So if you're afraid of him, like he uses that to like charge up and attack you, like melts you, right? He's going to be an important character, and I think he'll make some reappearances as they expand the monster side of Marvel. Obviously, I would love to see an interaction between Moon Knight and Werewolf by Night. So I would love to see Jack come in as a werewolf and like have a fight with Moon Knight, just to kind of pay homage to that issue, that episode. And then Elsa Bloodstone's going to be a huge character. She is a character in like Midnight Suns, that group. So you've got like Ghost Rider and Blade and, just all these like power players for Marvel. So introducing that character is like a step in that direction.
Got it.
And I think they're going to expand on that side of the universe in the future. But this show was awesome. And it was a breath of fresh air.
What was your favorite scene from the show? Because I have mine right off the bat.
Part of me wants to respond by saying that like one of the coolest scenes to see was the interaction between Man-Thing and Jack at the very end, where Man-Thing like brings him a coffee. I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
But like one of the coolest like
Humanizing the
scenes
monsters.
were right. One of the coolest scenes was the fight in the graveyard between Elsa and a couple of the other hunters. And she like shoots this guy in the face with an arrow, and the arrow like props his mouth open, and she's forced to like lay in a ditch and cover his open mouth while he dies like on her chest, so that the other hunter doesn't like hear him. It was just like so creepy and like kind of badass.
Stone cold killer. Yeah. I actually was surprised. So the martial arts or the action sequences were great in this show. I have nothing but praise for them. My favorite scene was when Jack was transforming into a werewolf and they kept a solid long shot on Elsa and panned in or zoomed in, whatever you call it. And you could see Jack transforming into the werewolf on the silhouette and the shadows behind Elsa, like a movie picture, the old animation, what do they call it? Not stop motion, but the old Disney animation artwork. And the acting from that actress was phenomenal. I didn't think she could get more scared and more scared. And you just saw her be vulnerable and break down in front of you. This stone cold killer who hunts monsters being petrified. I thought it was a work of art from every aspect. Bravo.
Yeah, and I agree. That was like phenomenal. Also, interestingly, you should know that was all done in one shot.
Yes.
And it was different actors stepping into like closer to the light and that kind of stuff as they were shining it. Yeah. Yeah. So they had people in different phases. No, it was one long shot in real time with multiple actors in different costumes.
The range of that actress, because they didn't do that first take. There's no way for her to be able to perform that scene multiple times until they got it right. I'm blown away.
Yeah. I mean, it was it was incredible. It was like a testament to the director and that kind of stuff and the influences he had taken from some of those earlier horror flicks. So
brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, what can we expect moving forward? We know that they've now opened up the door for, like you said, all of the Midnight Suns. Now that Elsa has the Bloodstone, what is she going to do with it? Has MCU already announced the future plans? We know about Blade, but any more future plans for Elsa Bloodstone? Was this just a Halloween special, or did they just take advantage of the timing? What's going on?
I think it was a little bit of both, but it was very interesting to see that this is something that they had been working on for quite some time and kind of kept it under wraps. They just announced this like a month ago. It was like, I mean, it was already shot. It was already in post-production. They were about to release it, and then they announced it. So like this, we saw this coming from nowhere. Like no one even really knew that this was going to happen. So I would love to see them expand this universe or this side of the universe a little bit more. Yeah. And obviously I know that you're like a fan of like Ghost Rider and that kind of stuff.
Yes.
I love Blade. So yes. I'm very eager to see, his portrayal in the films. We've only gotten like a tidbit, at the end of Eternals, post-credit scene for Eternals where Blade talks, but you never see his face. I know that they were talking about having Blade make an appearance in this show, but they just said the timing was not right. So clearly they have plans for him to make an appearance to expand this side of the universe, but we don't really have any concrete information on when that's going to be. So hopefully soon, and hopefully they'll surprise us with something in the next 6 months or something where we get to see these characters again.
Yeah, maybe since they kept this one a secret, they're already doing another one in secret. We can only keep our fingers crossed, right?
Yeah. It could be like a yearly Halloween dump too. We could have like another special next year. I don't know. But I'd love to see more of it. And I think everybody has had, or for the most part, a lot of people have had like really positive reviews of this show.
Yeah, from the little I've looked around on YouTube and, Reddit and all that, it seems all positives across the board. I haven't seen too much people just asking for more of this type of content and not some of the others. So well done, Marvel. All right. Anything else you want to share that we missed?
I think that covers the most part of it. If you haven't seen Werewolf by Night, sorry we ruined it for you, but check it out. It's awesome.
Yeah, I guess we should call it spoiler alert ahead of time, right? Well, next time we'll remember. All right, everybody, thank you, and feel free to join us for part 2 of this Rapid Fire. That's it. That's our short little show. We're starting to streamline the process, and some of the shows might get moved around, so make sure to check the show notes. Please do us a favor and like, subscribe, share this podcast so we can get some traction. To get around to it, check us out on our socials. Combative Nerds on Patreon, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. You know the deal. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you next episode.